its own initiatives, and for that it needs cohesion and an identifiable voice. You know my views on the Irish no vote. I think it was a disaster for Europe. The Economist has it all wrong in saying that the treaty should now be trashed and is ultimately unimportant. The Union, in my view, must have an identifiable and preferably strong, I mean not a Juncker from Luxembourg, somebody else, president and a foreign minister to project the will of 490 million Europeans. A 27-member union cannot run like a 12-member or 15-member club. To imagine in the world I've described, the world in which America's need to look to Europe is in any event diminished, and where such changes are underway with the emergence into the global economy of 38% of humanity in India and China, the defining event of our age, in my view, much more so than what's going on in Iraq and the Middle East. To imagine that in that world of change, an EU in such disarray can have significant political weight with its current structures, it's just delusional. I know the treaty was sold badly, sold appallingly even. I know it's too long, and it's certainly no page-turner. I know EU institutions have been too remote, something the treaty's European Parliament reforms are supposed to address in part. But the spectres that I understand from our London correspondent, who spent quite a lot of time here before the vote, and for others that were raised here, loss of neutrality, conscription into what is, a non-existent European army, forced changes in abortion laws, and I know not what, were fear-mongering nonsense. It was an abject way, in my view, for Ireland to respond to a Europe which played a huge role in transforming the country over 35 years, through money, through broadened horizons, and through its big market. Europe had the same transformational effect on Ireland that it had on Spain. The EU has been a release from history for the Irish Republic, just as the United States was long a release from history from the many who left these shores for those. Yet Europe, at the very moment when it's overcome division, something that would never have been possible without bold ideas and a strong transatlantic alliance, has been afflicted with a bout of political small-mindedness, of which the Irish vote was, in my view, the latest example. This too, I guess, will probably pass somehow, but the EU's extrication of itself from the Irish puzzle, and Ireland's extrication of itself from the conundrum it's now posed, it's not going to be pretty. That's a pity. This is not a moment for small-mindedness or introspective agonizing in the EU. Our planet's become very small. It's changed utterly in the 2 decades since 1989. The Obama presidency that I believe is coming will be the reflection of that transformed world, one of connection, human flux, more people on the move today into the streets of Dublin than ever before, mobility, innovation, where the challenges are huge, but so are the possibilities. The war on terror, I think, so positive, is coming to an end. That doesn't mean the terrorist threat is ending. It does mean that a rigid, exclusionary, reductionist, and ultimately self-defeating approach to the threats the West faces has exhausted itself. Europe needs to be present at the recreation of a new strategy. It will be more effectively present if the Lisbon Treaty is passed. Divided, as it was over Iraq, without identifiable leadership, as it has been for a long time, Europe will not have the vigour to compel America and the world's attention. I don't know how a revisiting of the verdict Irish democracy delivered can be engineered, but I do hope that some ingenious legal minds, both in Brussels and Dublin, are already at work. There have been many such conjuring tricks in the past, as you know, in the EU. The West still has work to do in spreading the miracles of liberal democracy and free markets, of which the EU is such a conspicuous example. We've lived through a time of misunderstanding, rancour, division, and some disillusionment in the Atlantic community. Some of it was probably inevitable with the Cold War's end. The compelling shared risk, shared threat had gone. In the absence of that, we've had to look for new forms of coming together. And of course, Bush's unilateralism, especially in the first term, did nothing to help that. In fact, damaged those efforts greatly. Europe's imagined America and the real America will never be entirely at one, but under President Obama, they would come closer, I suspect, than in a long time. It would be terrible at such a moment when America is close to the long, unimaginable, unthinkable step of electing an African-American president, a step of boldness and a declaration of hope, a kind of victory, if you like, over a terrible past of slavery and then the long decades of segregation. If Europe, at that moment, when America is doing that, were consumed with squabbles engendered ultimately by the great triumph of uniting the continent and so expanding the Union, Europe, after all, got the problem of managing 27 members through resolve that brought liberation and the fall of the wall. It cannot solve that problem with a pettiness that would be the ultimate justification for any American president, Obama or McCain, to buy the line that Europe is yesterday's news and the real excitement, the real money, is elsewhere. Not even neocons in that case could persuade them, either McCain or Obama, that the US has a dog in the old continent's sterile fight. Thank you.